Loud noise introduction. Free roam.
Yeah.
Glad to be back. How are you, my
Yes.
friend?
Doing very well. I'm very soon going on a holiday to the land of salvation.
Ooh.
I mean, I hope.
Australia.
But no, that's where I live.
That's
Why
where you're
would I
from,
go on
yeah.
a holiday? Why would I go on a holiday there? No, I actually looked. I wanted to maybe go to Australia, but it was like 25 hours to fly from where I'm from. So no, maybe one day. But I had like 2 weeks for this trip, so it was no that was not working out. But no, the land of salvation. Maybe by the time people listen or watch this, it has already been announced.
Yeah, that's
Of course, we're only 2 minutes in, and we're already talking about the Horizon.
yeah, no, well, we're there. I will say today is going to be very interesting because we have a wide gamut of things to discuss. It's been a busy, crazy few weeks to be fair, but we also like literally just as we were sitting down to record, a data miner started dropping some screen caps and leaking information about the upcoming Far Cry 7 game. And it's funny because like I shared one thing that just got dropped to Jor and it was already taken down. And so they're all over it. So naturally we're not going to show screen caps and stuff because they will just strike this. But we can talk about some of the stuff that we've seen. It's gonna be good. But yeah, there's all sorts of stuff happening, and yeah, it's kind of a weird end to the year, frankly. Like normally we're revving up for a couple big releases in November, but already it kind of feels like
I mean, it's the preparation. I did not even put it in the doc because it was from last week, of course. But we did not have the time to record then. But GTA 6, of course, got delayed, and I think next year is gonna be everything in September and October as well. If you thought that this year was already crazy, because I agree. Normally we have still some big titles in November, but now, I mean, this week is then Black Ops 7, and that's it. I mean, Where Winds Meet is of course gonna be interesting. I've played a lot of that, so I do think people should check it out if they at any point like the RPG Assassin's Creed games. I do think there's a very interesting take on that, although I do think the free-to-play elements and some of the more Genshin Impact influences might turn some people off. But if you don't mind that, and then you got a pretty hefty free game to check out without... I mean, so far the microtransactions only are cosmetic, so your character will look the same throughout your tens of hours in this game. But it's still
you'll
pretty
look like a
interesting that it's
brokey, but you'll have fun. You'll just look like a brokey.
Exactly. I unlocked like one of the helmets, and it was just a bucket or something like on my head. That's what they give away for free. It looks like the most ugly
You get trash
headgear ever. Yeah.
That's all you get is trash.
And by the way, I of course mentioned the Horizon Land of Salvation. It's very hard to keep track of all the games, but that seems to be the NCSoft game. So there's a Korean event, G-Star, going on, and there seems to be like a presentation on Thursday. So again, on the 13th. So maybe by the time you check this out, it might already be because I do think they are ahead of us. So maybe by the time we, or at least you, wake up, we should already have the info. But they are teasing a next gen or like next frontier of MMORPGs, and they put a lot of like text on the screen in their trailer, and one of them was hunting, and we know they have been working on a Horizon Project Skyline for a long time now. It should be coming to PC and mobile. So again, that's why this is gonna be probably kind of a different title versus so I think more a Destiny Rising maybe situation.
Yeah.
While of course the online game that Guerrilla Games is making should be more console PC focused on the Decima engine, and we will see what that turns out to be. And Horizon 3, did you see Kojima went to Amsterdam? He got to see it. He knows more than us.
He does. He's got the connections. It's classic Kojima.
I mean, he's using the Decima engine, of course. So he's like Oh well, I hope for Vicent he might use that as well. Of course, his next game, so that should be interesting.
Yeah,
But
I'm I think, it's going to be fascinating. We've talked about it, to death. So don't worry, everybody. We're not going to just rehash the same thing. But I do think it's going to be so fascinating to see how they choose just tactically to present it to people and how they choose to market it. Because I'm sure they also are painfully aware of some of the mistakes and missteps of like Marathon. They don't want to do that again. I think the head honcho executives are much more involved now. Like even just earlier today or yesterday, time zones are weird. The CFO of Sony was asked questions directly about like Marathon and Bungie and had to give extended answers of like, well, this is what we're doing. We're watching this. We're doing this. This is our timeline. It's launching by the end of the fiscal year for sure. Like the executives, the CFO is having to micromanage the development and like
I mean, it was their
timelines.
biggest purchase, right?
Yeah.
3.6 billion, and they already took a loss on that. They're like, yeah, it was not worth as much as we anticipated. I think they took a loss of like around the 200 million. So, I mean, I am hearing, and of course that's like just something I saw on the internet, but it does seem that the people that are trying the new version are liking it way more. That the story is way better. That yeah, they really are focusing more on the extraction elements that some people thought were missing when they did the alpha. So I think it's interesting. Like it did seem that yeah, the amount of time they had would not be enough to turn things around. But they also only showed one map, and like you figured out during your trip there, right? That the third map that would not be at launch is gonna be the best map or something like that.
Yeah,
So
I asked him like, what do you think is going to be revolutionary? Because it said we want to revolutionize extraction shooters, and they were like, the ranked mode, which they hadn't made yet. So they were asking us what we'd like to see in a ranked mode, and I was like, how is it revolutionary if you haven't made it? And then they were like, the fourth map on the Marathon ship will be groundbreaking, but we can't tell you anything about it, and it doesn't launch until after the game does. I'm like, okay, this is weird. But I do think, speaking of another tremendously successful game that launched, Arc Raiders, this is one of those that people were asking in chat the other day. They were like, do you think that this is a net positive or a net negative for Marathon? And personally, I think it's a net positive because what it's done is it's eased people who have previously had no experience or exposure to the extraction genre. It's introduced them to it. And even people who are not hardcore shooter players, like my wife, she's been asking to play Arc Raiders when we have some downtime, like between episodes of Dispatch. And I'm like, for her to be interested in that is pretty insane because it's not her typical style of game, at least as far as I would have thought. And so I think by the time Marathon launches, probably 3 to 4 months from now, they probably will have like an update or two for Arc Raiders, and there'll still be lots of people playing it, don't get me wrong. But I do think there will be people who are like, oh, so this is like Arc Raiders, but like first person, I'll give it a shot. Sure, I'll try it. And that I think is the net positive. There will be more people willing to dip their toes in than would have otherwise dipped their toes in if it had launched like back in September. Does that mean that it's going to be successful? Not necessarily at all. But it does mean, I think, that now people get it when you say it's an extraction shooter much more than they did even a month ago for like the casual audience, which by Marathon or by Bungie's own admission is really the target audience for a lot of these games. It's not the hardcore streamers that put 100 hours into a game in 2 weeks. It's the casual gamer who's trying to find something other than Call of Duty to play. But
yeah, 100%. And I think successful for Marathon will be very interesting because I do think they have very high, or that they need to reach pretty high highs to make it sustainable for them with the amount of people they've working on it. I think Embark, who also is like supporting the finals and of course Arc Raiders, I think the amount of people working on Marathon is more than at Embark. I think they have 330, which is still quite a lot for that studio. I'm not sure if you listened to that interview with the CEO from Embark, from the games business. Very interesting about how they see the finals also as a huge success, even though it of course started strong, and now they're building that game again with the amount of people, and they had a lot of learnings from that, and also how they really focused on making sure they can get content out very fast. Obviously, they're also using AI that not everyone is happy with. I'm not sure how that's implemented. I know for Arc Raider or for the finals, they have the announcers, right, be AI.
Yeah, basically, so to circle back to this, because this is also, I guess, a pressing topic, there was a big scandal that broke out because Eurogamer, those cheeky little fellas, they put out a review of Arc Raiders that was so damning. It lowered the Metacritic average, I think, from like 94 to 88. Like, it was a
What?
huge plummet because they gave it like a 2 out of, I think it was out of 5 stars. So it was 2 out of 5. So it's like
86 it's now at.
4. It's down to 86.
Wow.
But it was like a huge like punch to the gut. And the review was pretty glowing across the board, but they said that they specifically were going to ding it because they used AI voice actors, which in a game that tackles like robot overlords was problematic. Yeah, so they gave it a 4 out of 10 score, as clipped here by Michael or Legacy Killer HD. Yeah, it was at 1.94 out of 100, one of the best reviewed multiplayer games ever. But now after this one review, it dropped to 88 out of 100, and it sounds like it slouched even further. What they said was, rich PvE combat and an unusually friendly community make Arc Raiders a more approachable extraction shooter than most, but Embark Studios' continued use of AI voice generation is a black mark against its reputation. They say they love the game, but because they use AI voices, they mark it down. Now, what exactly are these AI voices? Well, they hired voice actors and actresses who specifically consented to their voices being used to train a dynamic model that uses their voice to generate audio for like callouts and pings and stuff like that. So if you ping an item in Arc Raiders, no matter what it is, the voice can say, I have a rubber spool here, or over there, you tag this thing. Medicine cabinet, you tag this thing. Oh, it's a Flibberty Gibbet Gazboogie, and it's on the grid, so the voice actually can say it. And for them, the voice actor trained the model, basically. They can use the AI voice generation to have different audio versions and call outs for every item in the game, however many hundreds or thousands are in the game, instead of just like random pings that are not referred to specifically. And so it's not like, you know, it's an entire narrative game with voice acted dialogue where all of the voice acted dialogue is AI generated. It's not like that. It's something they specifically used to try and speed up development and make it so they wouldn't have to record 50,000 lines of dialogue in a dozen different languages just for call outs of individual weapons and things. And it's something that even as George just mentioned, it's like, I don't even know what it's used for, because it's something that most people don't notice. It's something that's pretty minimal. And what I mentioned in my reply to Michael was that Eurogamer specifically, they have a history of penalizing games for outside factors outside. Like if you don't like AI voices and AI generation or AI tools being used in game production, I think that's totally valid. I don't like generative AI being used to replace artists and stuff like that. So I'm with you. But I think critiquing the game and critiquing the tools used to make the game are often two separate things. And in this case, I think they're trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater and punish the game because they disagree with a tool that was used to create the game. And that just gets weird. And I think you're seeing the reaction to it because people feel like the 2 out of 5 score or the 4 out of 10 score is not fair for what Arc Raiders is. They're doing it specifically because they disagree with a tool that was used for it. And it's something they've done before where they, like, for example, gave KCD2 a 6 out of 10. And in their review were critiquing the political opinions of one of the founders of the company. And it's like, what does that have to do with the video game though? You know? So
yeah.
it's a scandal's afoot, Jor. What do you think of it?
Oh, wow. Like, I think if the AI voices really take, like, for example, if all the dialogue and all the story, of course, in Arc Raiders, that is less the case. But if you, for example, play a game and then all the voices are done by AI, so there's no emotion and all that sort of stuff, I do think that then it makes sense to lower the score for it. But this seems like a pretty interesting system to, again, like you said, they cannot, otherwise these voice actors would be in the booth for a couple weeks if they would do all the combinations. So I do think it's interesting if they indeed, with consent and paid these people fairly, um, but they are basically using AI to do something that was not possible before. So I do think that that is pretty interesting actually. And yeah, it's interesting as a reviewer. You of course are serving the, yeah, you're serving the people, the consumer. The okay, if someone goes to Steam, they want to know if they should buy Arc Raiders, and yeah, then what is the experience like for those people? Again, if those AI voices are an abysmal and you're kind of like you want to turn off the sound because they're so bad, yeah, then I think it lowers the score because it hurts
Yeah, if you
the thing that
notice
people
it.
bought.
And,
Yeah. But if it's a yeah, something like this, I don't think that that should really impact the score, but I do think that that really shows how kind of broken this whole Metacritic stuff then is. Because everyone, yeah, adds a score based on other, yeah, elements that they find important, but it all gets put in the same bucket, and
Yeah.
that gives
Well,
you
and
the,
even just like using a 5-star system and
exactly.
averaging that against 100, out of 100 score systems, they don't translate at all. Some outlets
No.
will review an average game at a 5 out of 10. Other outlets, their average is like 7 out of 10. It just changes all over the place. But I agree.
Yeah,
like
and
the,
yeah,
the
and what you sometimes see also, one more thing, like, is that these developers get like a bonus or something else linked to a Metacritic score,
Mhm.
so that also feels completely out of touch.
Well, yeah, I think what you raised is I think important, that if you feel if the game is made worse because of a tool that was used, what then is being critiqued is still the game. Like, you're still critiquing, yeah, the AI voices sound like robots and they sound bad. So therefore the game is worse. The game is bad in this regard. So we're going to penalize it for it. But if you can't tell, or if you didn't know that AI was used, if somebody didn't tell you, does that mean that the game is actually worse? Like, if we found out retroactively right now that like one of our the top games of the last few years, let's say Baldur's
Expedition 33.
Expedition 33,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Let's say Expedition 33, they use generative AI for all of the textures on the clothes, let's say. Nobody noticed. Clearly the game, before we knew that, was a masterpiece. Now that we know that, does it change what the game fundamentally is? Does that mean that you can penalize the game's score to try and punish the developers for doing something you disagree with? It just feels weird. It feels weird. And I think it was Tim Sweeney, the head of Epic. I think it was him. He tweeted out something which I think is very accurate. He said there is a place for critiquing what tools are used in game development, for critiquing the like more controversial sides of game development. They're called op-eds. A review is to review the product. And so like you can review a car or like a chocolate bar or something. And if the chocolate bar is amazing, but you find out that maybe it was produced with like oppressive cocoa farmers or something, and some exploitation of cocoa farmers wherever they get cocoa, then I think, okay, well, we should have that conversation about exploitation of the workers and all that. Yeah. But if we're just reviewing the product at the end of the day, like, those are two separate things. And I think in this case, I understand what they're saying, and I can understand why Eurogamer doesn't like the idea of AI voice generation. I mean, it gets weird when like the voice actors and actresses, of course, are signing up, consenting, and being paid royalties and stuff for this. And like you said, it's something that wasn't possible before. I can understand why they still don't like it. But again, I
think it's a misuse of power overall, because they know that they are on the Metacritic. They know a 4 would lower. Like, I think a better, if they really wanted to make a stand, don't review the game. Don't give it your, like, if this is how you're gonna do it, just don't do it. and only make the op-ed where you say, yeah, we are not reviewing our creators because blah blah blah. And now, but yeah, they know nobody would care about that if they would put up a random
Yeah.
article on the site. But now, because they're still, it does feel, and even though I, like 10 years ago, worked on the press side as well, of course their power has been dwindling for a very long time. But the Metacritic system is kind of still keeping them relevant in this new day and age. And I mean, reviews don't like Arc Raiders is doing super well. It's doing even better
Yeah.
after the score went down.
Clearly the
because-
gamers, the people playing and spending
Yeah,
money in the game, they
exactly.
don't care. Like, and that's the funny thing about this is that I think if anything, it could end up achieving the opposite end of what Eurogamer wants, because whoever put that review together clearly doesn't want AI voice generation, period, in these games at all. Because this was a fairly tame implementation of it, by all accounts. And I think the vast majority of people who have played Arc Raiders would not know that, like, the voices for pinging items in the game are AI generated. Like, I don't think they would notice. But what's going to happen is, because this is being made a big hullabaloo about, probably you're going to see people swing the opposite way, where they're like, screw you, Eurogamer. Like, the game's still awesome. So clearly a game can be awesome and use AI tools in its creation, and it's just fine. So I guess I'm not worried about it. You know, it's going to normalize it, and it's the same thing that happened with freaking Hogwarts Legacy back in the day, you know, where companies were trying, a bunch of people just didn't talk about Hogwarts Legacy because they didn't like J.K. Rowling's position on numerous topics, but others still covered it, but they would give it like a 2 out of 10 score to try and punish the game for being, you know, connected to this person they didn't like. But it achieved the exact opposite end. It just, like, made everybody pissed off at that outlet, and the game still sold tremendously well.
Yeah, but I do think that for a company like that, for a Eurogamer, I think they see this as success because they are now relevant in this conversation, while otherwise they would not have been. If they would just put up a review that said like an 8, and they put up the op-ed like they should have, I think the best possible way for them was to, okay, we have the game here. Yeah, we like it, as you can read, but if you read between the lines right now, they gave it an 8 or something like that, or like 4 stars. But at the top it says, but warning, there are AI generative voices used, and we don't like that. Read about it here, or something like that. That would have been the best way to do it, but then nobody would have cared.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, they're suddenly relevant, and yeah, that is what you kind of see now. These and they kind of have to. I mean, they are in a very bad position. Google, I mean, I see it myself as well. I'm still a boomer in a way that I use Google more than ChatGPT, but like, if the AI answer gives me everything I need, I'm not gonna click on any of the pages, and that's of course hurting all these websites. So I get that they have to do something, but it does feel like it's like a fight or flight mode right now. And I do think we might reach a point where Metacritic's system will completely change, because it's kind of weird that the reviews are not that important anymore, but because people just go to their favorite creator or something else, or their favorite person, maybe still at these websites, but not like the entities that these websites are, but they still have a huge impact on a Metacritic that is used for a lot of things. So I do think that will maybe change in the future. If
anything else, I think, like, people and outlets that are weaponizing their position within the Metacritic cast, or whatever you want to call them, for them to use their role in that tactically to try and brute force and strong arm publishers and developers into doing things that they want, or not doing things they don't want. That is just something I find inappropriate. You're here to review a game, not to, because, like, if you flip it, you may agree with the AI thing, that's totally fine, but what about if you flip it the other side with, like, the KCD2 thing? They're trying to give a game a worse score because they don't like the political views of one of the founders of the company. Like, should that go unpunished? Like, they're weaponizing it because like what they would like to see is that person booted out of the company. So they're trying to strong arm a company into firing people because they disagree with their politics and that type of thing. Like it's not, I don't think that's what Metacritic should be for. It's not what game reviews are for. If you want to have conversations about politics, go for it. But it's a video game review. Like, can we not politicize, like bring modern politics into everything, please? You know, but
yeah, but again, I do think they're trying stuff. It's their most engaged tweet, so they look at it as a win. But I do think it's more short-term gain. In the end, the more people when they see Eurogamer, they will like connect the dots and at one point be like, yeah. I mean, the sad reality, and it's not good for the industry that more of these websites are going. Although, yeah, now they're kind of I don't like them seeing misusing their power, but yeah, we are losing a lot of the gaming press already.
Yeah.
So I do
except
think
Game Informer, dude. I've got the Game Informer magazine.
Oh wow, yeah, they're back.
They're back, and they actually are like really nice prints and everything. Ship them right to your front door. There's a lot of good little stuff in here. It's really
yeah, awesome.
It's a blast from the past, frankly. I mean, most of the pieces, no surprise, the stuff you're gonna get in this is not like hard-hitting gaming journalism or exposés. Like, it's mostly puff pieces on the games that they're covering, which, I mean, like, you could throw a fit about, but I think like what they're delivering is a celebration of games, not like let's tear them apart, figure out how they work. So that's fine.
And I think it's good that they're, because we are losing that as well with all the gaming shops going down, and like there not much else remains in terms of the physical world from video games. We don't have the magazines, or very little of them. The GameStops are gone, and it's only the games. I go to Gamescom and then I remember, whoa, the gaming industry is huge. But if you just walk outside, like you would not notice.
It's very isolated now. Yeah. Very isolated in everybody's bedrooms and offices and stuff.
For sure.
But speaking of
where you would put a Steambox.
Yeah, isolated, like a small black cube isolated in the grand expanse.
The Gabe Cube. Let's go.
Gabe Cube is here. Yes. So when we started streaming this morning, we started at 11 a.m. my time. 11 a.m. 11:01. News drops. Steam,
I heard they
Valve.
were waiting for you to go live.
They were, apparently. Valve announces something crazy. 3 new products. They have a new Steam console. They have a new Steam VR headset thing and a new controller, all of which clearly the design inspirations from the Steam Deck are readily apparent. But probably the most exciting one, at least for me, is the Steam Machine. What this basically is, for everybody that may be confused, it is a fulfillment of a vision that they had back in 2013 when they first were kind of ideating this. This is a sort of media-centered box that you connect to your TV, and it allows you to play your entire Steam library on a Steam OS device that is contained within the cube. And so it's basically a mini PC that, in terms of power, it's not super clear. The designers told, I believe it was PC Gamer, they told them that their target is for it to be able to play any game on Steam at 4K 60 using upscalers.
Whoa. They
tried Cyberpunk 2077. They said that it was okay. But when they swapped down to 1080p, it was much, much better. So, which makes me think, just like ballpark, we're talking about like Series S, maybe a little bit above a Series S in terms of power.
Oh, really? They said 6 times the horsepower of the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
That's at least the official quote.
Yeah, and I'm sure this will improve as time goes by. They'll get improved efficiency. They'll make improvements to the Linux wrapper that they have to use to make it compatible with Windows developed games. But in terms of like ballpark power, this is something they say they're trying to optimize for 4K 60. maybe it's a more of a box that's running games at like 1440p. Either way, I think that's fine for what it is. That being said, it is a pretty beefy little fella. It will have a 512 gigabyte model or a 2 terabyte model. It will allegedly have expansion capability with the NVMe SSD on the bottom, and potentially the RAM as well, though that will require you pretty much taking the entire thing apart, including the heatsink off of the motherboard. So it is possible, but it will be much more involved. But this is a little baby console that is a bit of a beast, and overall it caps out at, I think, is it 200 or 300 watts? I think it's like 200 watts of total power. So this is not like one of these big gaming PCs that sucks 1,000 watts from the wall. This is, a much smaller device that is basically the size of, I mean, it's like that big. It's pretty small. But the vision is effectively for you to be able to plug this into your TV and play any game in your Steam library, or games through like GeForce Now, but on your TV using either, an Xbox controller, PlayStation controller connected through Bluetooth, or a Steam controller. And then you can save, shut it down, go down to your desk or your bedroom or whatever, and keep playing on your Steam Deck, or you could keep playing on your gaming PC. And because it's a Steam device, all the cloud saves work, and you can just pick up where you left off. For me personally, this is like exactly what I'd be looking for, because there's a lot of games I have in my library that I'd like to play in social settings, or I'd like to maybe continue while sitting up on the couch, or just chilling in bed, or in Jor's case in the bath, and you got your bathroom TV and you want to be able to play games that way. And this could be a great fit for that, where it's just a way to be able to play. You're not going to play it at 4K with like crazy overdrive path tracing, ray tracing. Like that's not what this is for. But in terms of convenience and an all-in-one package, it seems pretty compelling. What do you think though of this, Jor? What do you think of the Steam machine?
I think the price is going to be very important, and they did not announce that, which is kind of a red flag, because if it's a good news, you would think they would announce it, or maybe they're still figuring things out, because it's coming early 2026, so it's still a few months away. I think that's going to be very important to see I think it's going to be probably more. I mean, the Series S is 30 FPS across almost all games, apart from like some games like Call of Duty. But so yeah, I do think it's probably going to be a bit more expensive than that. But I think that will really tell what they're aiming for here, and also what the audience is. Because if it's going to be 800, yeah, then it's going to be a very niche device. But if they can target this below a PS5, I think then we're getting in a very interesting territory. For one, it does seem that this is kind of what Microsoft wanted to do. They, of course, wanted to do, their next Xbox is rumored to be also a more open device, like kind of like what we've been seeing with the Xbox ROG Ally X, where you can download every app on it, also Steam and Epic Games, next to the Microsoft Store and all the Game Pass stuff. But yeah, now you have Steam competing for that as well, which I think is very interesting. It does, of course, seem that the next Xbox will be a quote-unquote generational leap, so that will be more powerful. But I think it's gonna be, again, I'm kind of curious for who's the target audience for this, apart from, because what you're describing is a very will there be people that never bought? Like, I do think, like, are you targeting people that already have a PC? Probably not. Or you are, but where are they gonna then put it in the living room so they have two options? Again, I'm kind of trying to figure out who this is for. For me personally, I prefer the PlayStation then, because that still has the exclusives that I want to play. Like, you cannot play Ghost of Yotei, obviously, on this device
yet,
at least at launch. Next year probably. But still, I think it's interesting. I think it's cool that they are doing it the right way, because what you talked about, how they did this before, is like through Alienware, and everyone and their mother, if they had a tech company, they could like make a device, and it was I remember the website for the Steam machine, like the OGs. There was like 13 options, and it was all over the place, and
Yeah.
they all looked different, and they were super expensive. So I do like this. I do like how it looks. It's very compact. I think you can, if you travel a lot, easily take this with you, and maybe if you have like a foldable screen or something, you can maybe even use it on the air. Yeah, unless it like really sucks out a lot of energy, but maybe use it on the airplane. Okay, again, that's still a very, very rare occasion, but I think it's interesting. I'm not a huge fan of the controller, which is kind of similar to the previous Steam controller. It has the two, sort of mouse pad thing on it, where you can, for the strategy games, I guess, and to more easily control the mouse. But yeah, the analog sticks are. I'm not sure. It does seem kind of
Yeah, you gotta like really...
not ideal. Yeah. So we have to wait and see. But I do think it's cool and good for the industry in general to have more, competition in the console space. And I think it's overall cool how it has always been our consoles are dying. Everyone is going to PC, or when mobile was coming up, oh, consoles are dying, blah, blah, handhelds are dying. And yeah, here we are when the technology is getting better and these devices can be better. We are actually seeing more of these devices. So I think that's good for if you were worried that consoles were going away or anything. Yeah, overall, it's great. Like, your Steam library works on this. I already tweeted out as a joke, like, it's going to have a very good launch lineup with all the 007 and Crimson
Desert. A lot
Desert
of day one games, frankly.
Yeah. So it's gonna be very interesting. I do think Digital Foundry is like scratching their head. They now have to add another system to all their
comparisons,
tests.
Well, I mean, going back to what you were asking, where it's like, who is this for? I think to me, it seems like it's for two key audiences. It's for some of those people, the waves of people who are on console right now, who are couch players and have not moved to PC, but are open to it. You know, they got cash to burn. They're looking to expand their gaming horizon, try some different stuff. But but they just do not like the idea of building a PC, or they are just fundamentally couch gamers and they want to lay on their couch when they play games. They don't want to sit at a desk and like have a keyboard and mouse, which is fine. Some people are just, they don't want to sit on a couch or sit at a desk when they play games. And so this aims to meet those people where they're at on the couch and give them the ability to play games where they like to on their big TV. It won't look as good as a PS5 Pro, almost certainly, but we'll have an insane lineup of games, and it should be, I mean, once, as we saw with the Steam Deck, when the Steam Deck became like a mainstay, then it became like a point of bragging for developers that we are Steam Deck verified. We are optimized enough to run on a Steam Deck. It's like a badge of pride. And I'm sure Steam Machine verified is going to be a thing too, where that's like a big badge of honor, is that we optimized for the Steam Machine. So I do think that this will probably start to break that and pierce that mainstream veil. The other core component of people and group that I think that this appeals to is people like me, people who would like to play on the couch more, but we like our Steam games. We like our Steam library. Most of our games time is spent in Steam. And so being able to play a Steam game, but now on the couch or in bed without having to hold the device, is very, very appealing. And I think all of this is, of course, wrapped in what you alluded to, which is the price point. At $400 to $500, this becomes very compelling for a lot of people, I think. If it's like an $800 price, it can't, and it can't be $1,000 or more. It just can't, for what they're describing.
The biggest game of the next year, or ever, you're not gonna play that day one on this device. I do think that, that is hammering it a bit as well. GTA 6.
Yeah, potentially. At this point, it's over a year away, though. So, is it over or under now? No, it's the 19th or 19th. So yeah, it's still over a year away. So if they launch this in like January, February, I could see a lot of people still buying it. But that is certainly a consideration for kind of more casual gamers. Is
I do think they could like hurt Sony big time if they announce the PC version launching day and date because of the delay.
Oh, that would be crazy. Yeah, that would actually You
That
might
would,
actually see a
or
drop in Sony's share price like
oh
instantaneously.
yeah, no, for sure. Because or if they announce they're not gonna do it though because they're Rockstar, they want the double dips. But if they announce like before November 19th, hey, it's coming February something, then people will wait. Yeah, maybe like that. It is still a game where you want to be part of it.
Yeah. They
It's
do
gonna
love
be
the double
wild.
dips with Rockstar and
Oh
GTA.
yeah,
So you better believe it. But we'll see with pricing. I'm sure right now the reason they
yeah.
don't want to announce pricing is because tariffs are still a thing. They're all over the place.
Mm,
Like one day out of nowhere, you might end up with a 200% tariff slapped on Chinese imports, and
yeah.
then 2 days later it's gone. And that it's just tough to predict what your pricing needs to be in 6 months when that's the kind of environment you're dealing with.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
they'll keep it locked
it's a
down.
small box. I do think they kind of looked at it that way, where we can fit a lot of boxes on any type of yeah, ship or whatever we're gonna use.
Just pack them in.
Uh,
We don't even
yeah,
package them. We just put them in
yeah,
there.
just. But I think overall, I think the biggest conversation will be next gen. Is the I mean, we're already seeing that with Google and Apple, the walled garden, and how they are getting 30% on their like yeah services or on their platform for just providing the apps. Now there's always been always developers or publishers are still kind of defending Sony in a way because they do think, Sony puts more effort into marketing their device and etc. etc. So the 30% is a bit more warranted. But if you next generation have both Xbox and Steam, now very much saying, yo, you can buy it anywhere you want. You get the deal, get any app, whatever. Any publisher can put their own storefront on these devices, but on Sony you still have to pay. You have to pay the 30% for every thing that you buy on that platform. And as a consumer, you are stuck with the PlayStation Store prices. You cannot go elsewhere. I still think that's gonna, especially in Europe, how they've been going after these big tech companies. I think it's gonna be a big conversation piece next generation.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, the next gen is going to be much more open. Like you mentioned, this was something that's Xbox was communicating they were interested in doing was this hybrid box design and just open everything up. And Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, he also said numerous times that in the most recent interview thing he did, I forgot what event it was for, but he straight up said, we want to do what we did with Microsoft Office with our games. It's like, it's all coming together. It's starting to make sense. But that really is their approach, is to make their product solid enough that everybody wants to use it or needs to use it, and then put it freaking everywhere. Whether you're on iPhone, you can get Microsoft Word. If you're on Android, you can get Microsoft Word. If you're on a Mac OS computer, you can get it. Windows, you can get it. They just put it freaking everywhere. And that makes it accessible. And no matter where you're accessing it, they still are winning because you're using their product and they're getting money from you. And with their games, it's going to be the same thing. And I think it's just, for a long time, we were talking about the console war and who's going to win and who's got the most market share. And eventually they just realized we're not winning. We're not going to win. We might be able to win if we strong-armed it and made everything exclusive after spending $80 billion on companies. But we're going to lose so much money in the interim. It's not worth it. Let's just distribute. Let's just sell games everywhere. And that seems to be what the goal is. Phil Spencer responded to the reveal of the Steam machine by saying that he thought it looked great. He's really excited and he thinks it's going to be a good thing for gaming in general. What he said specifically was, quote, as one of the largest publishers on Steam, Xbox welcomes the Steam machine. And I'm sure, he's probably also sweating a little bit because they have their own thing coming. But at the same time, I mean, he's probably not wrong. If the Steam machine is out there and people are buying Xbox games on the Steam machine, he's probably a happy camper too, So
that's their approach for sure. I do think it's especially good for Sony now that Xbox is becoming more third party. Or actually for us, that Sony has more of a competition now from the Valve side as well. But my point mostly is that Sony is now getting so much free money. We have, like, for example, the estimates from FC26 already sold 8 million copies on PlayStation. That's according to the analytics. What
Jesus.
are they? Yeah,
Circana?
the Alinea Analytics, and
Alinea.
yeah, and they constantly so they do estimates, and then afterwards the companies announce the numbers. For example, X amount of sold, and then they look at what they were, and they are usually like 3,000 or 300,000 like away from the number. So they seem pretty accurate, and so their estimate is that Sony already made $130 million in revenue from FIFA this year by doing nothing.
Doing nothing. It's the way
And yeah,
it reminds me
that's
of, like,
gonna be
the real money in these businesses is not having the product that sells crazy. The real money is having the platform, whether it's a actual store like PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox store, or Valve, the kings of it, or if it's just a game where you have the platform where everything is sold, like, you know, a Roblox, a Fortnite, Call of Duty, or any of these others where you're buying a lot of stuff within the game itself. Like, that's where the real money is in the recurrent stuff. And it's why Todd with BGS is so focused on building paid mods into all of their games, even the decade old ones, because that's where the money is. You don't have to do anything, and you just ride it all the way to the bank. And it's stupid that works so well, but it just does. And that's the new meta.
Yeah, but I'm afraid that Sony's position in that they are very comfortable now with these numbers, but I do think it might, it might backfire, or it might not look as rosy for them in the next couple of generations if these other companies allow any store on their device. So we will see how that goes. Well, what did you think of the cross-buy rumor as well, that PlayStation is gonna do a cross-buy feature with PC, because that seems very counterintuitive to what they're trying to do, right? It would be weird if you buy a PlayStation 5 game and then you get a Steam code. They want you in their ecosystem. So when I saw that rumor, so for people who don't know, there were basically since June 2025 in the back end of the PlayStation Store, there has been like a new icon that says cross-buy, and also another icon that has like PC and PS5 with like it's like combined as if you were like browsing the PlayStation Store and then you saw, oh, this game is on both PC and PS5. And of course, during the Vita and PS3 and even some games on PS4 generation, they had a cross-buy feature, but that was only on the PlayStation Store. So it tells me that they're probably going to launch a PC store, because that's, I think, the only way they can do cross-buy.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and my prediction has been for a while, that they're going to do an in-game store. It was actually rumored, I think, at the end of, or an in-game, a PC launcher. It was rumored, I believe, at the end of 2024, there was a bunch of like leaks of UI stuff. There was like a UI designer who had a portfolio built out, and it looked just straight up like a PlayStation PC store. You know, this isn't new in terms of ideas, but what I've said is I don't think they can get away with a PC storefront and a launcher unless it's got a lot of like pro-consumer aspects to it. Like if they just, for example, announce, hey, we're going to bring Wolverine to PC and Intergalactic Heretic Prophet and all these games, but it's only on our launcher. We're going to pay full price, and it's a separate launcher, so it's not on Steam. It's not on any of that. I mean, you remember the tizzy PC gamers threw with Helldivers just needing to make a PlayStation Network account. Imagine what it is if the game they want to play has to be on a separate launcher. It'll be messy. So even with cross-buy, I think there still will be some outrage with it, because my guess is they probably will try to get away from Steam if they're doing their own launcher. Maybe the goal is like, no, the incentive to buy it, we'll launch it on Steam, but the incentive to buy it on our store is cross-platform play, where you can buy it on PlayStation, just generally play it on your console or PC, and that could be a compelling reason to buy it. They launch on Steam as well.
Cross-save could be nice.
Yeah, I think it's similar to what Xbox has done with Play Anywhere, where you can buy it on Steam still, like in Outer Worlds 2, or you can buy it on the Xbox whatever store, And then you have Play Anywhere, and then you can play it on PC on your Xbox app or on console on the Xbox app, which you couldn't do if you bought it on Steam. So maybe they're just going to do that, which I think would be the ideal version. Like my ideal way of doing this, maybe separate from what I think they'll do, but my ideal way of doing this is they have their own launcher. It has cross-buy. Maybe some other things like trophies are compatible and everything like that I know a lot of people love.
I think
But
PC
they
already has trophies.
does it? Oh, well,
Some
can you
games do.
tell I don't really care about trophies?
No,
I'm
no,
like,
no,
I
I
don't
get
know.
it.
But they still launch it on Steam. They still launch it everywhere else. That would be my ideal. Just adding more options for players. Realistically, they probably are doing this to eventually rev up to removing them from Steam so that you have to buy it just through their store. But I'm sure they may.
I mean, they're
They might
so
ease into that.
years late. I mean, all those Ubisoft coming back, like everyone tried.
Everyone tried and it just doesn't work. Like the players are on Steam. Your game might be great, but they just don't care that much. Like, just doesn't matter. So
I mean, I do get, I do get that if they want to put their, I mean, there will come a time you would think that the big single player games are coming to PC faster, because I still think it would benefit them. Like for example, I don't think Ragnarok or Spider-Man 2 sold as well as it could have if it launched at the same time, because we've talked about it many times before on the podcast. Right now it's all about like mind share. You own the moment. When the game is out, your TikTok feed or whatever is full of the game. But if you have like a segmented audience that can only play your game, then yeah, you cannot reach potential other people. Then the snowball cannot like go off the mountain basically. So I do think it is probably in their best interest at some point, especially with there being so much entertainment now, and you like getting people's eyeballs is already super valuable. So I do think they might be looking at that, but then they're looking at the Steam fee for 30% and are like, we also have to pay Marvel 25%.
yeah.
Let's do our own PC launcher, right? At least try it. I do think they should have done it earlier because, hey, yeah, we've seen that you cannot really go back. If they from the start were like, yeah, you can only buy our PlayStation games here, I think that would, because then they had no real horse in the race. Right now, if they are pulling those games from Steam or only launching the new ones on this launcher, people might riot or might be like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Well, if that was the only way to play from the start, then maybe people would be more willing to. But I do think the cross-buy only makes sense if it's on their own launcher. I think for Sony makes sense too. I do still think their live service games, like Helldivers or like the Horizon Online game or Marathon, launch those on Steam, obviously. Don't put the have the PlayStation launcher be in the way of that. But I do think if the next, if like Phantom or whatever, or yeah, Intergalactic, if they want to launch that day one on PC, I think the only way is through the launcher. But are they then going to not have that work on the Steam machine or on the next Xbox? How's that gonna work? But we're of course speculating now. But I do think it's interesting and it does make sense because yeah, a lot of people are on PC obviously, and I do think
it's the
Sony
only
has been
market that's like growing. That's the thing, is like
Yeah.
console players are stagnant and flat. Mobile gaming is mobile gaming. But PC gaming is like the one aspect of the industry that is consistently growing. And a lot of companies are trying to jump on that for sure.
Yeah, and it's also like in the Asian markets, obviously way bigger. Like a lot of the Steam, like we of course looked at the concurrent, but especially this year we saw that with like Stellar Blade and stuff. It seems that most of these copies are sold in China or in other Asian countries. And then we see the big concurrent numbers, and we're like, whoa, this game is huge. Obviously, Black Myth Wukong is the best example. 2 million concurrent or something. I mean, yeah, the game was popular, but not like it did
Just
not feel like everyone
outrageous,
was
yeah.
playing that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting stuff. We got a few other things that I quickly want to touch on. I quickly want to like throw in a prediction because why do you think? Oh wait, this is not the right thing, but there is a new, because we of course know Crystal Dynamics, after the super successful Avengers game, they are doing another game. They're going back to Tomb Raider. And this week we saw the announcement, which, like, on its own is not really a big deal because why would you? But you can watch the Game Awards also on Prime. So yeah, if you have a Prime subscription, you can watch it there. But it's also on YouTube and stuff. So I don't know. It's gonna be very interesting. It's probably
Who
gonna
is saying,
be for people.
who's like, oh, thank God it's on Prime. Like,
Yeah, I think I'm really curious. Like for Jeff Keighley, like why not? He probably got a deal out of it as well. But I'm like, okay, but I'm from Amazon's perspective, I do think this because they're publishing the Tomb Raider game. So I'm like, okay, maybe they are. Yo, we're also going to do the Tomb Raider. I think it's a TV show now or movie. I lost track, but I think Sophie Turner might be in that. That was at
that
least
sounds
a
vaguely
rumor.
familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I would not be surprised if they were like, yeah, we're gonna announce this new Tomb Raider game. It's probably gonna be in the first few trailers. Let's have that be on Prime as well as like a big moment, even though I'm not sure if that's how it's going to work. But yeah, they are coming to Prime, and I think it's just a weird announcement. And we are due for the Tomb Raider game again. Avengers. They had the Black Panther expansion in 2021, I think, and after that, it fizzled out. So they've been working on this game for a long time, next to Perfect Dark, RIP. But
Rip.
yeah, obviously that is not working out for them. But yeah, so open world,
lock
seemingly.
it in. Jor thinks we're seeing Tomb Raider. It's possible. I mean,
think
it does make sense. It's time.
It has to still launch this generation, right?
I
think maybe
so.
like
I mean,
early 2027 is like where you want to put this.
Yeah, I think it has to be. It's got to be.
Yeah, but yeah, open world, harsh deserts, cliffs, abundant jungles, icy mountains, and a motorcycle. Hing.
What more could you possibly need? You got it right there. Speaking of what more could you possibly need, how could you possibly need more sales than this? Ghost of Yotei sold 3.3 million copies in a month.
What?
Says Sony. And so already, so we won't dwell on this very long, but there has been a subset of, like, it's usually the culture warrior types who have been railing and hoping for this game to be a colossal flop, for multiple different reasons. The actress, for what one of the developers said, they ended up getting fired like within a day, but they wanted this game to fail. And now we have pretty clear data that shows it's not a failure or a flop by any definition. 3.3 million copies in a month is compared roughly to Ghost of Tsushima's revealed 2.4 million units in the first 3 days, and it eventually went on to sell 5 million in 4 months. But we don't know exactly like where Tsushima was at this point compared to Yotei. But it's also important to note that at that time in the PS4 generation, there were a solid like 20 plus million more PS4s out in the wild compared to PS5s available right now to purchase Yotei. So in terms of where it is in its sales life compared to the number of platforms available for purchasing it, it's actually performing quite well. I don't personally think that it's gonna like outperform Tsushima. Tsushima was like a very exciting new IP at the time, and Yotei is like, it's good, but it's just not as exciting as a brand new IP that takes everybody by surprise. But I think it's selling well. Of course, it's selling for more, a higher price point as well, literally just charging more for it. And that also contributes to this as well.
Yeah, and it seemingly still had the same budget. I do think they spent a bit more on marketing because during COVID you could not really take over a whole train with Yotei art or Tsushima art. But they probably made their money back already, and it's I mean, they still have the Black Friday like that. That's another reason why I think a lot of these games are now, if they can, aiming for mid-September or early October. So then during Black Friday they can have a proper discount without like causing some day one buyers to be angry.
Yeah.
So I do think that it will likely reach the 5 million by the end of the year. Of course, we have the free Legends multiplayer DLC next year. New Game Plus will likely happen and around that time too. Then they will do a PC launch. Remember when Tsushima was on PC? That was last year in May. It was the top selling game in May last year in the US because of the PC launch, which was crazy. It sold like a couple million there. So I think it's it's a success story all around. But I think Tsushima's now at 12 or 10 or something million. Not sure if it will reach that. Maybe next year when people get GTA 6, they will get this game too, or maybe Sony will have a bundle or whatever. They're gonna try and push it more, but
Well, it's
it's success. What do you want to see from them? Do you want like another Ghost off game, or do you want a new IP, or go back to I think it's crazy that people say that Sly Cooper.
No, I want them to try something just totally different. Yotei, I think, was a refinement over Tsushima in pretty much every way, and it very, very good. But refinements are just inherently not as exciting as a brand new thing. Even if it has some rough edges, it's just a polished version of what you've seen before. And I'm just really craving something fresh and new. So I hope that they go and do something wild and wacky. Now, with a couple of caveats, what drives me crazy is when people are like, we're doing something totally fresh and new, and then it ends up being the exact same thing as 5 other studios that are doing the exact same thing. It's like, oh yeah, we all happen, like, just groupthink. I guess we decided to have the same vision for like a sci-fi game inspired by Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's like irreverent and silly and goofy. I hope it's not that. I want to see them try to do something like, typically you'll see studios, if they have a game with a lot of sword fighting, they'll do another game where they can use that same technology and experience. So they might go with something, like Viking themed, and it could be it could be like a Ghost Viking-esque game. It could be a game set in a very underexplored area, like an Aztec empire. Like, there's so much that they could do. I don't really see them doing something modern day. I don't really see them doing something like, espionage. I don't see that. I think it's probably going to be another open world adventure game, probably historical fiction and with swords. And, that is a wide open environment, but I hope that they really try something totally different. They move away from Japan and do something wacky.
Yeah. No, I do agree with that. I think that would be cool, and they I do think have the time now because their next game is going to be on PlayStation 6. So they made this game pretty quickly if you think about the fact that it was during COVID and that they had the Icky Island DLC 1 year after Tsushima. So it seems like 4 years of development time, which is pretty good for a game of this size. Looking at the other sequels that, like, for example, or the things that Naughty Dog, for example, is doing, it's taking a long time. But so I want something new as well. Although I would argue like a sort of Kill Bill type game, I would be down for that too. So in the modern or in the current day, I mean, with Infamous, they of course did do that. So yeah, give the person a sword and you got a cool. I would be down for that.
Just something wacky. I think it was it Sean Layden? He said in an interview recently, I think it was him, where he was like, I'm just so tired of everything being about remasters and remakes. And he said something like to the effect of, every generation deserves to have their own classics. And I was like, that really resonated with me, because I was like, yeah, every generation does deserve it. Because like with this generation feeling like a lot of it, there's been some amazing games, don't get me wrong. But I think it's nice to get some just totally fresh ideas, new IP, something brand new that you didn't see coming. Because as of right now, like a lot of what we're just sitting around waiting for are sequels, such as the sequel to a game from 2011 that people know and love, Elder Scrolls 6. This was announced 7 years ago, back in the year of our Lord Todd Howard, 2018.
16 times.
16 times the detail. It has now been longer since the announcement of Elder Scrolls 6. More time has passed between the announcement and today than passed between the launch of Skyrim and the announcement of Elder Scrolls 6. Just let that settle in. That's how long it's been, okay? It's insane. And Todd recently did an interview with GQ where he talked about a bunch of different stuff. But the piece that made headlines was this. He said, quote, "The game, Elder Scrolls 6, is still a long way off. I'm preaching patience. I don't want fans to feel anxious. I like to just announce stuff and release it. My perfect version, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, is that it's going to be a while, and then one day the game will just appear." I'm getting the vibe. Again, what's funny is 3 days before this interview dropped, we did a segment on stream replying to some hardcore fanboys that are like, no, it's coming out next year. Just wait. They're going to shadow drop it in November. And I was like, I don't think so. And we looked at a bunch of interviews. There was one moment where Phil Spencer in an FTC hearing described the Elder Scrolls 6 because one of the FTC lawyers was asking him if it was going to be Xbox exclusive. And he said, with that game, with the Elder Scrolls 6, we're talking about a game that's 5+ years away. That was Phil Spencer describing it in 2023 as 5+ years away. So I don't think there's any shot this comes out before 2028. I think it might even get pushed to 2029. They can't even get a small update to fix bugs that have been in their game for 18 months. They can't even get that out without breaking their own stuff. Do you really think they're going to like magically start expediting and making great time and putting these games no shot.
Did you? I also listened to an Obsidian interview, and there they talked about, okay, so yeah, you're making these Outer Worlds games and about, and that's all great, and yeah, they were really happy with the type of game they were making and it not having to be part of the bigger franchises. But I'm really thinking about this. Also looking at the Outer Worlds 2, you got the Fallout show coming. I've played a bit of the Outer Worlds 2. And maybe I'm too much of a business person or something like that, but if I was Phil Spencer, I would have like hijacked that project early on and be like, it's a Fallout game now. I'm sorry. Screw this. Why are we having two of the same franchise? Like, obviously, it's more sci-fi, but like the gameplay, it's very similar. I don't, because we're now waiting for 2029. When is Fallout gonna come out? I think that's crazy to buy Bethesda and then not have a Fallout game in the next decade. And then we're gonna see that.
No, it will unironically be, I think, setting aside the Fallout 3 remaster, which allegedly is coming and should probably come at some point next year.
Season 3.
Roughly, Season 3. So I think they'll have that lined up. But yeah, and we mentioned this, I did a whole video on it, but Todd has recently been like walking back comments he made about timelines. So what he previously said back in like 2021, 2022 was, we're doing Starfield and then we have Elder Scrolls 6 and after that is Fallout 5. So people asked him, okay, now that Elder Scrolls 6 is coming, when is Fallout 5? Like ballpark. Are we talking 2032, 2030? What are we dealing with? And he said, I want to just clarify. I said after Elder Scrolls 6, Fallout 5 is coming at some point down the line. Obviously, we're going to make it. It's coming after. And that hit me weird. I was like, why did he feel the need to clarify that? It sounds like it might not be next. If it's next, you just say it's next. Why is he walking that back? Why is he being weird about that? And I think it's because they're going to put Elder Scrolls 6 out there and then they're going to do like Starfield Online, or I personally think they're going to do Elder Scrolls Online. They're going to sort of do the next generation of Elder Scrolls 76 basically under their umbrella. I think Microsoft is looking for a way to shut down ZeniMax Online, and yeah, that's my big tinfoil hat prediction for what's coming. I think after Elder Scrolls 6, they have an online version of it that launches, an online game mode of it that launches, and Fallout 5 comes after that. But I think Fallout 5 is coming like 2034, 2035. It will unironically be close to 20 years, if not more, by the time we get the sequel to Fallout 4. Yeah.
I just don't get it. Because the show, like, we're gonna, I'm not sure if it's gonna reach the same heights, but it's coming. I hear no one talk about it now, but obviously with shows, you don't need like a marketing campaign right now. But that was a huge moment Fallout 4, I think, and even 76 like saw millions of new players. Fallout 4 was one of the best-selling games that month. It's wild to me that they're not launching a new game. Like people sometimes talk about like all these companies cranking out games from the same franchise over and over again, but you also have the others. You also have the complete opposite thing. What they are doing now, and it's not like right now. It seems that a lot of companies like a Ubisoft is struggling to find something that works for them, while Microsoft is just sitting on gold and not doing anything with it. And I would argue that maybe giving it to Obsidian, like, or another, or I don't know, but maybe that will give us a better game as well,
or at least a game. I mean, I think clearly Obsidian is capable of putting out multiple decent sized projects that are of a decent quality or even pretty good quality. I mean, they launched 2 pretty well received games this year. 2. That's crazy. They're not a team of 1,000 people. You know, this isn't a Ubisoft. This is like a fairly tight team, and they put out Avowed and Outer Worlds 2 this year. It's crazy. And Grounded too. Like it's ridiculous. Now, personally, I don't think that this version of Obsidian is capable of putting out a Fallout game that would satisfy Fallout fans. You know, people who are like
spin-off.
You could do a spin-off. I think the simplest thing would be have Obsidian handle a remake or something. It's like spiritual remake. People understand it's the same studio that did New Vegas. Like, even if it's not the same people, I think that narrative sells. I can see the trailer now from the people that brought you Fallout New Vegas, like, or studio that brought you Fallout New Vegas. So I think that there's a way to do that. But I think, you know, at some point, if you feel like something just is not making sense, you got to take a step back and reevaluate your assumptions, right? And that's something I've been doing where I'm like, it just seems to be like such a duh move to have Fallout stuff put out to do this. And it's like, what is my assumption? I'm assuming, for one, that their focus is to get single player games out to capitalize on the moment. But what if that's a faulty assumption? What if the goal is rather have the platform of Fallout 76 built out to capture players? And maybe their data is just super clear that players who jumped into Fallout 4 and bought the game on Steam, they played it for 20 hours, they fell off of it, and they moved on. But the people who jumped into Fallout 76 played it for 60 hours, and they spent money on these paid mods and these cosmetics and stuff.
And the monthly pass or whatever.
And the monthly pass.
Subscription.
Yeah, and so per player, it was way more valuable to get them into Fallout 76 than it was to get them into Fallout 4. And so then they're like, okay, we'll just put all of the effort on the live service stuff. And I think that starts to line up much better with how they've been handling everything that they do, is that the whole focus in that same interview that Todd was talking about with GQ, he describes Fallout. He's like, yeah, we have hundreds of employees working on Fallout. What he means is the online. Yeah. Everybody else who likes the single player stuff is like, where? What do you mean? But it's because it's all in his mind. Fallout now is Fallout 76. Like, at some point when their actions speak louder than words, and at some point when all of their actions are describing how their focus is live service, their focus is the online games, you just got to accept it for what it is. Like, it's just not a priority for them at this point.
I mean, to be fair though, I do think you make a very interesting point. But I do think, like, because obviously, like, making a single player game, it's also gonna be maybe that's why they are in no rush, because they have Fallout 76 and they probably know that putting out the next single player game could hurt Fallout 76 potentially. I was like thinking about, did they maybe see that with online Elder Scrolls Online, but they've not put out a new Elder Scrolls game since that, like, apart from the Oblivion remaster. But for example, we learned that Fallout 4, and this was in 2015, they sold, let's see, 12 million copies, I think, in like a few days. They made $750 million on that game. And that was back in 2015. Like, imagine a time now where a new Fallout game would be out. I do think they're then completely maybe they're misreading the room, or I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Xbox executives to misread the room. They're pretty good at that. But I think it's also just the fact of the matter with Bethesda right now is that they have really, really, really struggled with getting stuff done. Like at some point, it's just very, very difficult for them to be like, okay, well, expedite. Because what they've done is they've grown. Like there's a slide that was done in Will Shen, his GDC talk. And he has a slide in here. I'll see if I can scrub and find it. Yeah, here. This is crazy. So this is the credited people working on these games. And there is, I don't know what this is, but the slide is what I'm interested in. At Skyrim, the number of people credited on it were just over 100. Fallout 4, it goes up to like 150, 160. But the BGS devs credited for it are like 120 people. Okay. Fallout 76, that number skyrockets because they bought out and bundled in Bethesda Game Studios Austin and all of that.
And the Battle Cry guys, right?
All of that gets bundled in. But what happened is pretty clearly as they grew and as they got bigger and bigger and bigger, their ability to manage that scope and scale did not grow. So this is what the number looked like with Starfield. It skyrockets even further. So this is Fallout 76 now. And then the far right big scary bar is all the people credited for Starfield. And that number skyrockets well over 500 people. But you would not guess that 5 times the number of people that worked on Skyrim worked on Starfield. Like it seems like it's got even less content than Skyrim. Besides, I mean, you can say procedural. It's technically endless. But if you ever have to say it's technically, it means in spirit it's not.
Yeah.
And so I think the problem for BGS specifically is that they just, at this point, the bigger they go, the more bloated they go and the slower they move. And so for them, they've grown a ton, but they've not grown in the way where they can manage 2 projects at the same time. That could have been the goal. I mean, I guess technically they are if you count Fallout 76 and Starfield. Yeah, they were working on 2 games at the same time, but you know what I mean, like 2.
Yeah, and now 3 games because they're still doing the Starfield DLC as well, and obviously a PS5 launch next year.
Yeah,
but like, we've seen that like time and time again. Obviously, Expedition 33 is a crazy example with the amount of devs, and obviously they had some help. But Sucker Punch is another great example. Like, if you tell a random person who played Ghost of Yotei and Assassin's Creed Shadows, and you say, there were 5 times more people working on Shadows, they would look at you like, what the, or maybe even more than 5 times actually. They would be looking at you like, what? I did not notice that. It always comes back to, or a very interesting thing we saw from the Insomniac leak was also a slide where they were like, okay, so we spent 3 times as much money on Spider-Man 2 versus Spider-Man 1. Did anyone notice that? Like, did anyone who played that game notice that? And I do think that that's sadly a reality we are in, and Embark is another great example of that. They seem to have a pretty ambitious post-launch, and I think for Arc Raiders, and I think the finals is getting seasons like at a rapid pace as well, with a pretty small team for, say, Bungie that had like 1,000 people working on Destiny 2, and then a Marathon at one point. Obviously, they shrunk it down as well, but it does seem like the old way of doing things is not working out, and especially with the Asian developers coming in as well, and being way cheaper and pumping out even faster content. Like, I think Where Winds Meet is going to be very interesting as it's a single player Assassin's Creed RPG, like, or the Genshin Impacts of this world. They pump out content left and right. It's very hard to compete for these Western companies.
Well,
I still think.
I was just going to say, I think part of it too is one of the other, perhaps just coincidences, but a piece of this too is a lot of these big studios in the Western markets post-COVID pretty much completely eliminated crunch and crunch culture from their studios. And I don't think it's a coincidence that at the same time, like the productivity has plummeted off a cliff for a lot of these studios, and it takes way longer to do the stuff that they were used to be able to do in 2-3 years. They now take 5 to 6 years to do it because they can't demand people work 80-hour weeks, you know. It is the new normal, but it makes it very, very difficult. And to be clear, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying like it's good people can go home and spend time with their families. That's good. Okay.
But it explains the situation.
Yeah. It explains how things have changed. And it also explains why some of these Chinese development studios, which don't give a crap about crunch culture, they're able to pump this stuff out. Because they're like, no, you're going to get an inflatable mattress and sleep under your desk, and you're going to work 18-hour days. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, because for you, we have thousands of other developers who want to work here. So you better, yeah. It's crazy. If
Suck
you
it up.
look at the amount of employees that they have there, versus the amount of, like, the size of the teams are kind of similar. So getting a spot at one of these developers is very, very rare. So only the best of the best of the best work there, and their salary is way less. What I also heard is that a lot of the like Netflix TV shows, or like the Korean or like the Chinese ones, they, instead of like having the doctor as like a cool job for kids or whatever, it's now the streamer or the game developer. So they're kind of romanticizing the game development. Like that's their what do you want to be when you're older? Well, I want to be a game developer now. So it's very interesting to see that is happening there too. So now, very interesting times, but I still think, like, I'm looking at the Fallout 4. It made more money than Red Dead Redemption 2 in the first day. Fallout 4. Like that, it's one of the biggest launches ever. I don't get that.
I think I'm sure Todd has told Phil, he's like, we will have that moment. If you want more of those moments, give us time and we'll do it. Like Todd's whole philosophy is let people miss stuff. Like take your time, and when it comes out, it'll be a moment. Like it's the polar opposite of what Xbox's problem has been. Like Xbox has really struggled to make games feel like moments. And Starfield, to its credit, did feel like a moment. Like it was a big moment. They put a lot of money and time into it, and it was a beat, you know.
Having Fallout 5 this year would have been a moment as well. Like
I agree, but I think it's like they would have needed to foresee the success of like the show and how much Fallout would be peaking right now back in like 2016-17, because that's when they announced Elder Scrolls 6. That's when the timeline laid out for after Starfield. Like that's when they made the decision to do Elder Scrolls before Fallout, was back like right after Fallout 4.
That makes sense to me too. I think like it should not come at the cost of any of these two projects, but it's the biggest thing that Microsoft has.
Yeah, at this point.
And that is the crazy part. And they've been like talking about, I mean, do they want the 30% profit? Well, I mean, that's also listening to the Obsidian interview, and they were very happy with, we're able to launch 3 games this year, and we don't work on it for that long, and we have multiple teams, and we get a bit better every time, and we like our type of genre, or like our universe. But I don't know if you can have an Outer Worlds 2 and it comes and goes for the game that it kind of is, like with the amount of content. And this should have been, I think the first game did way better than the second game, which is crazy because the second game is much better.
Yeah.
And there's no, like, they're trying to make this other franchise a thing while they already have something like it. And then I got Clockwork Revolution as well. I think it's good on one hand that you let these developers do what they want and all that sort of stuff, but they have a problem. Like if they had the Fallout situation figured out, it just like they should do what they want, obviously. But I'm just frustrated with the amount of like layoffs and all the stuff that they're doing. We're it's a hard time, blah blah blah. Dude, you could have like pulled that. You have power, right, as the CEO of this gaming division.
I mean, without a doubt, I think he's misread the value of it. because they should have had something. Like the fact that we are where we are, and he has not got anything for Fallout is crazy. Like they should, like even just managing whatever this remaster is for Fallout 3, they still don't have anything to show for it, and it's still presumably a year away, which is insane. But
yeah, and I'm looking at the Fallout 76 numbers, and I totally think that your analysis is spot on. Like the amount of money they get per player is way more than from these single player games. But there are like now 7,000 people in the game. Like it's probably like they're probably getting a nice sum of money, but I also think that at this point, those people are probably gonna keep playing. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, but it just hurts to see. Like we of course, like the Bobby Koticks of the world, we make fun of them, and they go way too crazy. But they would have been like moment one when they bought this company.
They would have had 5 games out by now. Yeah, they would have
yeah, exactly. And maybe that, but they would have been like, okay, Starfield was not what it was. Or you want to do a freaking expansion that's 5 hours and you're gonna work a year on it? Well, no, we're not gonna do that.
No.
Screw this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, my queen, my flame, my muse. She brought me a coffee. How nice is that?
Very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can round it out. I think we touched on almost everything that we wanted to.
No, it's a good time to be a gamer without a doubt, even if we complain a lot. But there's a lot going on. I'm hopeful we hear any more or even more snippets over the next month or two leading into the Game Awards. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff at the Game Awards that is going to be exciting. I think it's going to be a good one. And then we just kind of sit and sizzle until the mad
I'm
rush
happy to be sizzling and
March.
sizzling. I have some backlog games, man. I still want to play Borderlands 4. But I've been playing Dispatch.
So good.
Blazer or Invincible?
Oh, well, my wife made the choice on our first playthrough.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my wife chose Invisigal, and
Oh my god.
did you
Wrong
choose
choice.
Oh, really? Interesting. You
But
can tell a lot about somebody based on that choice, I feel.
Really?
I think so.
But who would have you picked then? Because I think Invincible, I'm sorry, it's a walking red flag. Like,
That's what keeps it exciting.
no, it's people that did not play the game. They're like, "What the heck are you guys talking about?" We're not spoiling anything, but I remember playing that, and that's the perfect bad top game, by the way, on the ROG LIX.
Oh yeah.
I'm touching to make the choices. I'm using the controls for the hacking mini game and stuff. It's perfect to have the touchscreen and the controller set up. And
we've been playing it on the
1 hour
couch
episodes.
at night. Whenever new episodes drop on Wednesdays, we boot it up, and so tonight we're gonna play episode 7. Tomorrow night we'll play episode 8.
Ooh.
Trying to space it out. There's a pretty high likelihood my wife's just gonna be like, no, we're finishing it tonight. We just go through both
because
episodes.
it's the end. I don't want to be spoiled. I wanted to get it out of the way today as well, but it's did not work out. But,
Gotta knock it out. It's so good. It's fun to have a choose your own adventure game that's like really just phenomenally well executed. Like,
yeah,
it's just great to see them finding success. It also sold over 1 million copies already, and it's not even, I guess now it's fully out, but
yeah, I think they reached their. I saw an article today. They reached their 3-year goal in 3 months. So yeah, good on them.
or 3 weeks.
That's great. Or I think maybe with pre-orders, or maybe 3 weeks. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, that's crazy. Good for them. Good for them. Yeah, they deserve it. Hopefully we get season 2. That'd be awesome. But
yeah, but if they're not planning it, then I can already see this like be the Wolf Among Us 2 situation. Where's that?
yeah, maybe don't overextend. Well, wonderful time chatting with you, my friend.
Yeah, it was great.
A joy as always. We will be back, everybody. I'm sure next week with more stuff to talk about. Hopefully,
Yeah,
more
we're gonna
stuff will
do a
continue
Game
happening.
Awards prediction show when we get closer. I mean, we're getting close to that, so it's gonna be
Yeah,
exciting.
and I'm sure by next week we'll have the Horizon Online game to talk about because they're gonna
The mobile game,
the mobile game.
probably the Land of Salvation.
Land of Salvation. I can't wait to talk about it. I'm so excited. So Until next time, my friends, thanks for watching and listening. Give us ratings on Spotify. It helps out a ton. We appreciate you guys. And we'll see you in the next one, okay? Hugs and kisses.
Bye.
Bye-bye.